Look, we go. Hell yeah. Oh, it's food.
They're calling this the heist of our generation, the absolute darkest moment to ever go down inside T-Mobile Arena. And if you caught Joe Rogan losing his mind during that second round, then you already understand that something seriously doesn't add up about Saturday night's main event.
Obviously delivered in the main event, it's capped off with a war. Just give us your thoughts on Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett delivering a 5-round battle.
Yeah, I mean, what a couple. So Paddy Pimblett at the weigh-in yesterday says, I'm going to knock this motherfucker out tomorrow. And I was like, that's interesting. And he never abandoned that game plan. Even when, he got dropped a couple times, I kept waiting for him. I'm like, he's eventually going to have to shoot and try to submit him. Now, I didn't know Paddy Pimblett had a chin like that till tonight. And, yeah, absolute dogfight in a war, and much respect to both guys.
We haven't seen Justin yet, so we don't know what his status is physically. But, I mean, is the interim, is the unification fight have to be next? Or is there a case if he's hurt and needs to be out for a while?
Apparently he's 100%. So we sent Paddy Pimblett straight to the hospital, and then we're going to send Gaethje too. And Gaethje's like, believe me, I've been in plenty of wars. I'm good. So as far as we know right now, he's healthy.
Dana, I remember when Paddy first arrived in the UFC, you were saying stuff like, well, his entrance is good and it's all well and good to get the fans, but he needs to be able to fight. Obviously, we've seen him have great wins before, but to show the durability he had in that fight tonight, do you feel like even though he lost, he will be considered one of the best in that division moving forward?
No doubt about it. I mean, he was the favorite tonight. I think that's what fucked him. Every other one, he's the underdog and everybody thinks he's going to lose. Tonight, he's the favorite. I don't think that his game plan was the greatest. Obviously, tonight he showed he is tough, he is durable, and almost impossible. I mean, especially against Gaethje. And you're eating those punches from him. It's one thing to say, listen, I'm going to come out. I believe in my durability. I believe in my chin, and I'm going to go toe-to-toe with this guy. But when it starts to not work, at some point you got to say, you know what? It's the third round. I got 2 rounds left.
On paper, the history books are going to tell you that Justin Gaethje took down Paddy Pimblett with a clean, unanimous decision to snatch that interim lightweight title. The official record shows those 48-46 scorecards, but what those records will never capture and what we're about to dive deep into right now is the straight-up corruption, the obvious dirty tactics, and the sketchy officiating that basically gift-wrapped this victory for Gaethje in ways that might not have been earned fair and square.
I really wanted to finish him. But I loved teaching him a lot. He said my face was not going to look the same. After the fight, his would look the exact same. So as soon as it was over, I was like, well, look at your face, motherfucker. It does not look the same. So for him to, and he's going to learn from this. You cannot have that mentality when you come in there. He needs to accept the worst possible outcome. And that's how you perform the best, when the pressure's the highest. You have to learn these lessons. Again, his mindset going into that fight was not good. It's not how you cannot do that like this. False confidence is terrible. It'll kill you every time. And that's what he had.
So here's what we need to figure out. Was this whole thing orchestrated because the new Paramount Plus partnership needed an American champion to launch their heir? And what's the deal with referee Mark Goddard completely ignoring what might be one of the most obvious fouls we've witnessed in a championship bout?
That I'm glad it's over and I never want to do it again. I'm like, the fans don't ever ask for a rematch or anything like that, because that would have never. I'm glad. He's unique, man, and he's one of my favorite guys to watch. So but if you want to beat Justin Gaethje, you have to. So he's a forward fighter and a pressure fighter that he will stand in the pocket. And he's gonna throw everything he got in that pocket. If you don't meet him, you'll get chewed up. So Paddy, the way to beat a guy who does this, very violent, aggressive pressure fighter, you have to meet him. You have to throw when he throws. So you got to be brave, and you have to go when he goes in between his shots. If you do that, you got a fair shot. If you don't do that, if you're not brave and courageous and throw when he throws in between his shots, it's going to be a really long night. It's going to be a hard night for you.
Right now, we're dissecting this conspiracy that's absolutely taking over social media. We're examining the payoff theories, that mysterious eye poke that left Paddy fighting blind, and these judge scorecards that make zero sense when you actually break them down. If you're sitting there thinking this decision was legit, you better stick around, because what we've put together suggests that Paddy the Baddy didn't just lose a fight, he walked straight into an ambush.
Paddy's not bad, dude. Paddy's not bad. He's very beatable. And Gaethje's very beatable as well. But when it goes into the passion and how upsetting Justin Gaethje has always been about not getting that real title shot, and they just keep dangling it right there again, Paddy's in for a new treat, right? Paddy's the one that's never fought for a belt. He's going in there. He's going to be trying to, get that stuff. He's going to feel a little bit more fresher. He's going to have that little bit of excitedness.
Now let's rewind to the exact moment everything flipped upside down. Second round territory. Before this point, Paddy Pimblett was absolutely stunning everyone watching. He'd survived those brutal opening minutes, absorbed Gaethje's vicious leg kicks, and was starting to connect consistently with his jab. The energy in that arena was electric, because this hype train was proving it had real substance behind the noise.
If he gets it done, it's because Justin's just so shot. He's been in so many wars, he's been around the company so long, and that knockout to Max Holloway, he just hasn't recovered from. So if he gets a win then yeah, there. But this is seems like a smash spot. Like, if I was able to bet fighting, which we're not allowed to because the feds got involved because that moron coach James Krause screwed it up for all of us. But this seems like a smash spot on Gaethje because everybody's on, and all the public is driving the money line for Paddy Pimblett to be the favorite. But I think Justin's still a tough dog, and he's going to come out there and give his all, and he doesn't want to lose this fight. This could be his last fight if he loses. So, I think he's going to put Paddy to the test, and, Paddy, usually has to control the wrestling aspect, put guys to the ground to get his submission and to get his striking game working. So, I don't know. Justin's shot on one hand. They're trying to give him an easy win on a silver platter to Paddy to build him up. He's got a little bowl cut and a little mouth, and they think he's the next star. So, I don't know. It's a tough fight to judge. How much is left in the tank for Justin versus a guy that's absolute nobody that hasn't actually accomplished anything in the sport yet. We shot.
Then boom, everything changed. Right in the heat of an exchange, Justin Gaethje launches a left hook, but freeze that replay and watch it frame by frame. Focus on that thumb. That wasn't even close to a proper closed fist. That was a thumb driving straight into Paddy Pimblett's right eye socket. Deep penetration. Absolutely brutal contact, and Joe Rogan caught it instantly. You can actually hear the alarm in Rogan's voice cutting through the broadcast. He's screaming about how insane this is, because that eye is completely compromised. Now he's talking about a thumb buried deep in the socket. Under normal circumstances, in any other fight, that referee jumps in immediately. Time gets called, the doctor gets summoned, points get deducted, especially considering Gaethje had already been warned about keeping those fingers in check earlier in the round. But what's Mark Goddard's response? Absolutely nothing. He lets everything keep rolling while Paddy's there blinking like crazy, obviously unable to process anything coming from his right side. And Gaethje, like a predator sensing weakness, he immediately starts hunting that blind spot with a devastating overhand right that completely shifted the momentum. This is exactly where these bribery theories are gaining traction. How does a referee with that much experience completely miss a foul that obvious, especially after already issuing warnings? Was there some kind of directive to keep the action flowing for this new streaming platform audience? These are legitimate questions that demand answers, because that eye poke was the game changer. Before that thumb made contact, Paddy was controlling those exchanges. After that thumb connected, he was basically fighting with one functioning eye. That's not competition anymore, that's just legalized assault. Now we need to break down these scorecards, because this is where the rigged theories really start making sense. When Bruce Buffer announced those numbers, 48-47, 49-46, and 49-46, you could literally watch the shock ripple through the crowd in those front rows. 49-46, are you being serious right now? That's basically saying Justin Gaethje dominated 4 out of 5 rounds, and anyone who actually watched this fight knows that's complete nonsense. Even hardcore Gaethje supporters were admitting all over social media that Paddy clearly took the 3rd and 5th rounds. He was outlanding Gaethje consistently in the 3rd and nearly put him away in those final 60 seconds of the 5th. So explain to me how you give 4 rounds to Gaethje. This feels like those scorecards were filled out before these fighters even touched gloves. This is exactly the kind of hometown advantage we used to see destroying boxing, and now it's spreading into the UFC like a disease. Look at what's really happening here. This was Paramount Plus launching their first major event. The UFC is desperately trying to drive American subscriptions, so who makes more marketing sense for that American demographic? The wild, unpredictable scouser who might go completely off script during interviews, or the patriotic, flag-waving warrior like Justin Gaethje? It's not crazy to think the decision makers wanted Gaethje winning to keep the division stable and marketable. When you really examine that 49-46 scorecard, it stops looking like referee incompetence and starts looking like a safety net. They wanted to guarantee that regardless of what Paddy accomplished in that cage, he wasn't walking out with championship gold around his waist. Let's go even deeper into these bribery allegations that are absolutely exploding across Reddit and Twitter feeds right now. There's actual footage making the rounds showing Justin Gaethje's corner having some kind of conversation with an official before the opening bell. Now look, this might be completely harmless standard procedure, but given everything that went down afterward, the ignored violations, the questionable scoring, fans are studying every single frame like it's the Zapruder film. Justin Gaethje built his reputation as this human highlight reel, but Saturday night he was fighting with veteran dirty tactics that crossed into illegal territory. Those headbutts during clinch work? Completely ignored. Multiple fingers finding their way into eyes, ignored again. Grabbing that cage to defend against Paddy's takedown attempt in the 4th round? Still ignored. When one competitor gets to bend every rule while the other gets penalized for breathing wrong, you're not watching a fair contest anymore. You're watching a scripted outcome. And check out Paddy's body language throughout this whole thing. Usually when Paddy scrapes through a controversial decision like that, Jared Gordon's situation from way back, he's absolutely defiant. He's screaming about how he won, getting in everyone's face about it. But that night, he looked completely defeated before Buffer even opened his mouth to read those scores. He already knew what was coming. You could read it in his posture, in his expression. He understood he wasn't just competing against Justin Gaethje in there. He was up against the entire system, the judges, the predetermined narrative they wanted to sell. Even Joe Rogan, who typically tries maintaining some neutrality during broadcasts, couldn't mask his complete shock at the lack of point deductions being handed out. When your own commentary team is practically pleading with the referee to do his actual job, you know something's fundamentally broken. Let's talk about that doctor situation too, because this part is absolutely infuriating. First round, right after that initial eye poke, the doctor steps in for his examination. He glances at Paddy for maybe 3 seconds total. No proper flashlight examination. No detailed questions about vision clarity. He just wipes the area clean and gives his approval to continue. Compare that response to other fights where doctors have completely stopped bouts over minor cuts above the eyebrow. Paddy's eye was visibly swelling shut, his vision was clearly compromised, and this doctor cleared him like he was checking a paper cut. What's driving this rush? Why skip all the standard medical protocols? Because the UFC absolutely could not risk having their massive UFC 34 main event conclude with a no contest ruling. They needed a definitive result, they needed highlight reel moments, and they were completely willing to gamble with Paddy's eyesight to deliver that entertainment value. This exposes the ugliest side of this sport that everyone pretends doesn't exist. The show became more important than fighter safety and competitive integrity combined. Justin Gaethje didn't demolish Paddy Pimblett that night. He outlasted him with major assistance from a permissive referee and 3 judges who might as well have been watching a different fight entirely. We should also examine that post-fight interview because the body language tells its own story. Justin Gaethje stood there holding that belt, but he didn't carry himself like someone who just conquered the world. He looked relieved, like someone who just barely escaped getting caught red-handed. He barely acknowledged the eye poke controversy, immediately trying to redirect conversation toward Ilia Topuria instead. Why dodge the obvious talking point? Because deep down he understands the truth. He knows this victory comes with an asterisk attached. He knows that if they ran this fight back 10 times without that eye poke interference, the outcome might be completely different, and the fans in attendance knew it too. Listen to how that crowd responded when Gaethje gave his victory speech. Sure, there were cheers from his supporters, but those boos were just as loud and clear. The T-Mobile Arena audience isn't stupid. They watched those replay angles on the big screens. They saw that thumb penetration. They witnessed the injustice happening in real time. Paddy Pimblett might be a divisive personality. Maybe you can't stand his attitude, his look, his whole persona, but Saturday night he displayed the heart of a true warrior. He battled for 3.5 rounds with essentially one functional eye against arguably the most devastating puncher in the entire division. The fact that he still managed winning rounds under those conditions deserved respect, not a scorecard robbery. So what comes next? The UFC is going to try burying this controversy as fast as possible. Dana White will show up at press conferences talking about not leaving things in the judge's hands. He'll dismiss this as just another close fight and tell everyone to stop complaining, but we can't let this slide into forgotten history. We need to demand real accountability here. Those judges need to explain their scorecards round by round in detail. Mark Goddard owes everyone an explanation for why eye pokes suddenly became legal in 2026. This goes way beyond just Paddy Pimblett's situation. This is about protecting the integrity of the sport we're all passionate about. If fights can be influenced this easily, if blatant fouls get ignored this consistently, then what exactly are we watching anymore? Is this legitimate athletic competition, or are we just consuming sports entertainment with predetermined outcomes? Justin Gaethje might be wearing that interim championship belt today, but in the minds of millions of fans worldwide, that gold is absolutely worthless. I need to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Do you think that eye poke was deliberately calculated? Is that 49-46 scorecard proof of systematic corruption? Did Joe Rogan's live commentary shape how you interpreted the fight? Let me know if Paddy deserves an immediate rematch opportunity, or if the UFC is just gonna fast-track Gaethje versus Topuria and pretend this robbery never happened. Make sure to smash that like button, share this with every UFC fan in your contacts, and hit subscribe because we're going to keep investigating this story until the complete truth comes out. The entire world is paying attention. UFC, you can't edit the replay footage, you can't hide that thumb contact, and you definitely can't cover up the truth. Justice for Paddy.